about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So have you ever worked at a job where you're like, if I stay at this place, it's going to kill me? Where this job is going to be the death of me? I know a lot of people joke around like that. They'll tell their coworkers, they'll tell, man, the boss is killing me. This boss is going to give me a tumor. But it's no joke. There's a lot of us that feel like we have worked in places that might have actually done some significant harm. Well, this headline caught my eye. There are 10 nurses reportedly in a maternity ward at a hospital. The same ward have developed brain tumors. Workers at Newton Wesley Hospital in Massachusetts have been struck with different types of brain tumors over the years. One person has claimed that as many as 10 nurses on the same floor, including herself, have been diagnosed. This is being reported by Daily Mail. Now, some of these brain tumors have been benign, they say, some cancerous. But she told WBZ-TV that it's getting to the point where the number just increases. And you start saying, am I crazy thinking this? This can't just be a coincidence. She told the outlet 3 of them had surgery, and she believes the hospital is not being supportive enough. She says, we want reassurance because this has not been a reassuring past few months for a lot of staff members. We want to feel safe the same way we want to make our patients feel safe. Now, the hospital said there was no environmental risk. They did an investigation. The hospital said after we became aware of reported brain tumors in individuals who currently or previously had worked in the same area of the hospital, they said we conducted an extensive investigation in collaboration with the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, OSHA, Newton Wesley Safety Officer, Radiation and Pharmaceutical Safety Offices, and external environmental consultants. So they interviewed 10 nurses. 5 had different types of brain tumors. And the hospital said every staff member who came forward was given the opportunity to be interviewed by OSHA and to evaluate each diagnosis in the context of their individual medical history and risk factors. They said to evaluate for any possible environmental exposures in the area of the hospital, comprehensive environmental assessments following CDC guidelines began in December. They found no environmental risks, which could be linked to the development of a brain tumor. And then they presented these findings to stakeholder groups, including staff, the Massachusetts Nursing Association. They held forums. So it looks like, there was an investigation. But, I trained at a hospital, and I'm so glad I trained there. I learned so much. But maybe it's because I'm middle-aged now, because I trained 20, 30 years ago, about 20 years ago. Yeah, a little over 20 years ago, yeah. I don't want to age myself too much. But a lot of the people I worked with or trained under are dead. Some had cancer, different types of cancer, heart disease, suicide. So I don't know what to think. Is it that we were all exposed to a virus that could have caused cancer? Most of the people I worked with had something happen to them health-wise, or is that just, aging? Is that just the normal incidence of things? I'm at an age now where friends of mine are getting knee replacements, hip replacements, cancer. I have friends in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So if somebody, let's say, gets skin cancer or breast cancer or, is that, that's the incidence of it. Middle-aged people can get, bad things too. But when we do see an uptick in cancer, we do need to be aware. Now that this media article is out there, I'm sure a lot of individuals are like, well, I don't want to get cancer, so I don't want to work there. Now, nurses are calling for an independent investigation as opposed to using who the hospital used. And I think that's fine. I think there should be more investigations because brain tumors, that's some scary stuff. Now, one question an investigator would have is you're saying 10 people have had a brain tumor. Now, that's kind of a lot. Brain tumors are rare. But over how many years? Did these different types of brain tumors happen over a period of 12 months? Or has the hospital been around for 40 years? And every few years, somebody is being diagnosed with something that ends up involving the brain. So it's, on one end of it, you could look at this going, oh my gosh, close that place down, right? Erase it from existence, demolish it. On the other end, it's, well, there's acoustic neuromas, there's gliomas, there's pituitary adenomas, and these are things that happen in the general population. But I'm of the mindset that hospitals can be dangerous places to work because of all the different things we're exposed to. And we know that many viruses can be oncogenic, can cause cancer. Sadly, we aren't going to know for another decade if COVID is going to cause us to have premature cancer. Or was it all the disinfectant and cleaning sort of materials we did? But something like this does need to be investigated very, very thoroughly. And we also need to understand what the general population incidence of these things are. My concern is we're getting less and less data. Now that fewer people go to the doctor, we just aren't, getting things reported as much. But I feel for these nurses, and I understand why they're scared. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, guys. We are back at Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So for years, we've been talking about on this show how AI may replace jobs, robots may replace jobs. People have been talking about this for a while. COVID accelerated things a little bit, made us see how easy it is for our jobs to be replaced, but also how we still need people. But now that we have AI that is just blowing our mind on things that it can do, and we are having such an anti-human sentiment where people don't want to talk to a human. They don't want to deal with a human. They want that chat bot. You go on the chat bot with Amazon, you tell them your situation. They're like, okay, we'll give you a refund. They're like, all right, I prefer the chat bot than the human. You can go online, request an antibiotic. If there's not a doctor on the other side, there has to be for now. But if they're like, oh, okay, well, you check the boxes, here's your antibiotic, you get what you want. So the average consumer went from, oh, no, I want a human, I don't trust the machine, to preferring the machine. When I grew up, if you told me that if I got a credit card, I would type that information onto one of those computers that, we were kind of learning, they were these pet commercials or pet computers in school where we would try to do little loops, like I like dogs. And then you learned how to do a loop. They were teaching you how to code in a very, very granular way as a little kid in the 80s. If you told me that I was going to be putting credit card or personal information into that and other people could read it and have access to it, I'd be like, you have got to be out of your flipping mind. Oh, hell no. You keep your credit card to yourself. Otherwise, somebody's going to use it. And now all people are doing is putting their private information up there. If you told me, in the 80s or 90s, I'm going to take a piece of you, give me some of your hair so that I could later clone you. Like, no way. You are not touching my DNA. This is me. You're not going to get any part of my DNA. And now you have everybody going, oh, yeah, swab my saliva. Let me see what I have. Who am I related to? Do I have any more family members? Can I qualify for scholarships based on my new ethnicity? We really do things differently. If you told me in the late 80s and 90s, when I was a young woman, 90s, that to get into a car with a stranger and they will take me where I want to go. I'm like, I'm not going to get into a car with a stranger. Are you kidding me? And here we are with Uber and Lyft. Late night, just getting into people's cars that we don't know. Our trust has completely changed. And so we need to get real about what this is going to look like. Because I don't think anybody's preparing. Now, the younger generation, the Gen Zs, they're nervous. The Gen Zs are like, look, my job may not exist. The majority of our jobs may not exist. The second anybody figures out a way to save cost and have a computer do the job, they're going to do it. We've already seen grocery stores can be done automated. Medicine, people would love to just type in their issues and have the computer spit out their prescription. It's already been trialed in Europe. So we are just a matter of months. We have the technology. We just have these laws in place. Well, you need a human and you need their medical license and you need... Now, dentists, hygienists, surgeons, probably not going to go away anytime soon. But doctors who don't examine patients when they should. I mean, doctors did it to themselves. When patients told me, that doctor has never put a stethoscope on my chest. I'm like, what are you talking about? There are people doctoring that don't examine patients. Well, then, no wonder people are asking for a computer or AI to take that on. Now, we're seeing all these reports that AI can read a mammogram or a CAT scan better than a radiologist. I disagree. I still think the human, can pick things up and human instinct. I still think you do need the human component. But if the consumer doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. They're going to say, hey, we could save money on Medicare and Medicaid, and we could do that if we do AI. So let's save money. They don't care. And it's frustrating. So when Bill Gates said the average work week is going to be 2 to 3 days a week because you're not going to need that much human involvement, what do humans do? Where do we go? Do we become dependent on the government to support us? The reason why we work is so we can pay our rent and eat. 5 years ago, Pelosi was talking about universal income. Universal income. I don't want to just wake up and get a check from the government. I want to work for my food. I want to earn my keep. But if robots and AI is taking over, these young Gen Zs who are in college right now, trying to become something that was in their parents' generation as a successful career. We're not going to need accountants, translators, coders. This is the computers are going to be doing this. Now, if you are a specialist in AI, if you are cybersecurity, we're going to need those. We're going to need people that understand computers and can fix a computer when it doesn't work. But that's what most of the industries are going to be about. Now, yes, we are going to need people to cut hair. We are going to need people to help unclog drains. Yes, there are going to be robots. Not in the near future. So we will still need trades. We will still need people who can actually cut and create. But even from the artistry standpoint, AI is producing music. It's producing art. One of the things I'm fascinated by online is when you look at these individuals and then how they grew through the years. So they'll take a picture of Elvis, or they'll take a picture of Donald Trump, or they'll take a picture of whatever, and then turn it into a live action where you see them. Or this fascinates me. You see World War I, World War II era pictures, and then they bring those people to life. Now, it's not exact, but this is what AI can do. Anything you thought was impossible, it can do. And when people prefer that, then it just is going to take over. So for those of you with Gen Z children, or those of you who are kind of worried about who is putting in the money for tax dollars for your Social Security and Medicare, if you're concerned about, what's happening to the younger generations, then we might need to collectively figure out how we're going to ensure there's going to be jobs. Now, maybe farming, maybe, but again, we're using machines for these things. But what the average person needs to do who is starting to evaluate what they want to do for their life or career is figure out what is going to be taken over by computers and AI, and what is going to save people money, and what is AI not going to be able to touch. Now, you might think, it's never going to touch medicine. No, it is. It's going to be huge. Most of us primary care providers are going to be out, especially if we're not examining patients when we should be. We've already eliminated the physical exam now that we're doing telehealth. You still need one, but people are learning that they could still get their medicine without going in for an exam. You could get birth control now over the counter. So I don't know who's doing their pap smears and who's checking them for STIs, but you could get birth control over the counter. I support that because I want people to have access to birth control, but some of these people have never had a pelvic exam. So we're teaching people that you could get medicine without having to ever have an exam. And that's changing. Changing their health risks, changing their cancer risks, changing the way we do medicine. Somebody could say AI could, do presidential stuff. Definitely better than Biden. Maybe even, be more personable than Trump. But, right now, we need to figure out how we are going to preserve our relevance on Earth. Because if we don't work and we don't have a drive, we don't progress and we don't evolve. And then we become extinct. 1-877-Doc-Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I told you, when I need an escape from the politics and from everything going on, I like watching movies. I like watching TV. I like listening to music. And a problem I've been having with a lot of Hollywood and a lot of TV shows is they infuse politics in those. And sometimes you feel like you just can't escape. And one thing I'm noticing also is there's more sex and there's more uncomfortable type topics. So, White Lotus, not really, known for its comfortableness because it starts out where someone's murdered and then it goes through the season trying to figure out who is and why. But it's like in the latest White Lotus season, not to really do spoilers, but much of now the story is centering around incest. And is it necessary? And I find myself going, okay, go back to the other parts of the story. There's some, mystery. There's a crime story in this, but they have to bring up that. And then The Righteous Gemstones, I started watching that. Really funny. I'm a lot of dirty words, because Danny McBride is a foul mouth. But it's just the sex topics and it's almost like it's just oversaturated. And it starts to make these things unwatchable. And I'm trying to figure out, Cobra Kai. Okay, although that story is starting to stink. But I like Cobra Kai because I like the actors. But I'm kind of starting to struggle. I really want to see some good shows. I do like this 1923, which is the Yellowstone prequel. I saw the 1883, and now I'm watching the 1920. I like the 1923 a lot. I liked Squid Game. That was good. I just saw Mufasa. Once it got on Disney Plus, because I'm spending so much money on Disney Plus, why am I going to the theater? So I might as well see it at home. So I saw Mufasa. Mufasa was interesting. Mufasa's the prequel to The Lion King. And it was, I'm sure there was some politics infused, but it was overall a really good story. And I noticed I watched, most of it without stopping. The soundtrack, I didn't really care for the music. And maybe it's because, when you had The Lion King, oh my gosh, circle, circle of life. I mean, when you have the music and the Hakuna Matata, and I just can't wait to be king. The Lion King soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks. So the Mufasa soundtrack, none of the songs really appealed to me. It was, so, and when they started to sing, I was like, well, definitely not like the original Lion King. But I gotta admit, the story was pretty good. They didn't do a bad job. These live action remakes are things that Disney has decided to do because they had so much success with Aladdin. I thought Aladdin was fantastic. I loved how they did Aladdin. And so I think there's potential. But then when they did the Lion King live action remake, Yeah, and I want to see, and I've always said this, I want to see more creativity. I want to see good stories. Don't just try to build on other things, for the money grab. But if you can make a movie and try to keep politics out of it and just do a good story, I think you're going to be successful. Snow White, from what I understand, is bombing pretty badly. It still made millions opening weekend because there was nothing else to see. But from what we understand, even when people did see it, it wasn't just about, Rachel Zegler's politics. It just wasn't that good a movie. Like Barbie. You could put the most amazing stars that they did. I thought the stars, Margot Robbie, fantastic stars, fantastic costumes. It's just the storyline sucked. It was boring. She kept crying throughout the whole thing. What are you doing here? You could have done so much with that. And I'm tired of people making crap. But very interestingly, the producer of Snow White, many of you have already heard this headline, where the producer of Snow White, his son, pretty ticked off at his father's star. And he deleted them, but he kind of went off on how she ruined the film. And he being critical of Israel trying to get their hostages back and being kind of anti-Snow White and then anti-Trump and all that. He was pretty upset. This is a Mark Platt. He even tried to meet with Zegler to have her, take some of the posts down. And he feels like her comments is what kind of caused the destruction of a movie. And he's like, a lot of people worked hard on this. A lot of people's careers depended on this. Even I think John Lennon's son spoke out about that. And so here she is where, she gets a movie and she decides to use that platform to, I guess, try to get more followers or push through her social agenda or her political agenda. And this is a free country. You're allowed to speak and say what you wish, but you kind of ruined it for the rest of them. And so this is interesting. And I think people are going to, not to mention her co-star is Israeli actress Gal Gadot. I mean, this is her home country where friends and family members were attacked, hostages taken. And here is, and so I don't want to rehash, but it's interesting to see, the son of the producer say free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. He said tens of thousands of people worked on Snow White. And he said that Zegler hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. He said narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. So interesting how Hollywood did not have her back for her woke, anti-Trump, anti-Israel comments. And so people say, well, what did she say that was anti-Israel? Well, when you say free Palestine, if you're saying free Palestine from Hamas, you're right on the money. If you're saying free Palestine from Israel, when Israel isn't running, Israel left Gaza in 2006. and there's hostages being raped and tortured and killed over there, yeah, that's not really supporting Israel in their time of need. And accusing them of the wrong thing. So Hollywood, I think, is learning some lessons. And my selfish side of this is I just want Hollywood to be political free. Unless, of course, the movie's about politics. You want to do a movie on JFK or Reagan or Biden or Trump, okay. But don't trick us into this is going to be a movie about Snow White. This is going to be a movie about a Barbie doll. This is going to be, and then all of a sudden it's just infused with politics. I don't want that. I don't want to be trapped. Let me, watch a fun movie. Let me watch. Maybe that's why I like a lot of the Will Ferrell movies or Adam Sandler movies, because it's just a comedy. It's you don't have to sit there and be lectured to about a political candidate. And hopefully the consumers are going to demand that more. And I think Hollywood learned a huge lesson where when you have somebody that decides to be very, very political and use that platform for that, it could ruin it. Maybe people are going to be like, look, free speech, but, understand that things you do, you're not preaching to the choir. A lot of the choir, is not thinking the same way you do. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I don't care how pro-pharmaceutical people accuse me of being. One of my favorite classes of drugs are the statins. These cholesterol-lowering medications blow my mind. And in fact, in my practice, and I had a practice of at least 16 years, not one individual taking a statin drug died of a heart attack. My father died of a heart attack, but he didn't want to take the statin drug. But I have not met anybody who died of a heart attack who was on a statin drug, which is why I have so much faith in them. Do they have side effects? Yeah, they do. But being that a heart attack is one of the worst things that could happen to you, I'd rather you be on a lower dose, try to minimize some of the side effects, and get that heart risk down. So a study coming out of the UK found that not only is it, protective of the heart, but also, I don't know if the study actually came out of the UK. I have to find out who gets credit for this. But they found out that taking these medications can cut the risk of dementia, as well as Alzheimer's, because of the LDL, low-density lipoprotein, levels in their blood that are dropping. Now, the LDL cholesterol, how I described it as your body needs cholesterol to function. And so cholesterol is made, the majority of it, in the liver and muscles. And so the LDL has to be delivered from the liver, shall we say, to the cells to work. If too much is getting delivered, like too many packages like Amazon, they start to stack up. They start to clog. Your sanitation department, the garbage trucks, are your HDL, the high-density lipoprotein. That cleans up the extra LDL, brings it back to the liver to get destroyed and then cleaned up, which is why you want a good amount of HDL to offset your LDL. Now, what happens if nobody's picking up those Amazon boxes? They sit there and clog and clog. And so you need good HDL, you need low LDL. So a medication that helps minimize the LDL are these statin drugs. So they're taken very easily, usually once a day, in the form of the ended statin, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, simvastatin, lovastatin. Brand names are Zocor, Lipitor, Crestor, and they work fantastically. Now, if they could control the LDL from building up, they could then prevent the hardening and the narrowing of your blood vessels. When somebody dies of a heart attack, it's not necessarily that their blood vessel goes from 70% clogged to 80 to 90, 95, 97, 98, 99, 100, and now you get the heart attack. Oftentimes you have this plaque. You could be 60, 70, 80% clogged, 90% clogged, but the more plaque you have, the more it has a chance of ripping off. When it rips off, it tears like a scab, and you bleed, or it tears the intimal lining of that artery. Well, whenever you have a tear, all of a sudden your clotting factors run to repair it. And then it clogs up that whole vessel or whatever's remaining open of it. And that's how we get these widowmakers or these immediate heart attacks, especially in the left anterior descending artery, which seems to, clog most notoriously. Now, these medications that decrease your liver's ability and muscle's ability to make cholesterol will limit and lower your LDL. And in some people, we'll even see a bump up in their HDL. In some people, we see a drop in their HDL with these medications. But in some people, we see a bump up. It's different strokes for different folks. But there are side effects. One is muscle pain, because, again, these medicines work on the muscle. Another is you could see some irritation of the liver in some people. Why? Because it works on the liver. It could cause, for some people, some headaches, some dizziness, some nausea. Some people might get GI issues. There's been some individuals that might have platelets, lower clotting factors. Some people might feel muscle weakness. And we have to stop the medication when we see you have, severe muscle damage, because we don't want you going into rhabdomyolysis where you have breakdown of the muscle or severe liver issues. So one of my family members years ago, extended family, was put on 40 milligrams of Lipitor as a starting dose. He went into complete rhabdo. His body rejected it, his muscles ache, and now he can't take it. And I'm like, why did the doctor start you on 5 or 10 milligrams? And it was a cardiologist who was being a smartass, thinking, well, I need to lower your cardiovascular risk, so I'm just going to put you on the higher dose. I always start people lower. And I understand I'm not a cardiologist, but I need to know you can tolerate it. I want to ease it in, even if it's just for a week. But when you went from 0 to 90 in this particular family member, he almost died. And now he can't take the medication, and how's he going to lower his cholesterol? So there is an art, there is a choreography to this. But being that these medications can not only lower your heart risk, but also dementia risk and Alzheimer's risk, wow. There was a study published in 2025, the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry that, as we're talking about, can lower Alzheimer's and dementia risk. Another study in 2016 echoed the same thing. They looked at 400,000 Medicare beneficiaries who used the drugs, and the research found that men in the group who had taken the medication regularly for 2 years had a 12% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. Now, I had a family member die of multi-infarct dementia. Multi-infarct dementia is from clots or clogged arteries because of cholesterol, because of plaquing. Well, then cholesterol-lowering medication like a statin could decrease that as well. And interestingly, they find anti-inflammatory benefits from these medications. Remember, you don't want the plaque tearing and ripping and inflaming. You want it to regress and not irritate the lining. So this is why we think these medications are so life-saving. But again, it's different strokes for different folks. And for some people, they really, really need to have, their liver watched, their muscles watched, their heart health watched. Of course, eating less cholesterol would help. Lean meat, vegetables, fiber, whole grains. That's a much healthier heart diet, lowering your salt. No alcohol, smoking, none of that. Cut your sugar. Sugar is very sticky, and that really can clog the arteries. I think diabetes is like taking your LDL and quadrupling it in terms of risk. So I'm a fan. And I don't care if people go, oh, she's so pro-pharmaceutical. It's not that I'm pro-pharmaceutical. It's I don't like people dying in their 40s of a heart attack. And if this is allowing people to live longer and spend time with their grandkids, oh, amen, then I love it. And I do commend AstraZeneca for Crestor, Pfizer for Lipitor, Merck for Zocor. Hope I got the companies right. Because I think those medications are life-saving. What I really like about Crestor is I could use a lower milligram dose. Crestor, I noticed for some people, 5 milligrams might equate to 20. And 10 milligrams might equate to 40 for other people. So again, it's different strokes for different folks. Have your medical provider look at you. Also have a cardiologist look at you. If at all you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, you shouldn't be managing this over the phone. Somebody should be checking your heart health, your arterial health, your carotid arteries. Get yourself checked out, 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.